Hey, Alex.
Yeah, what's that, John?
You know what movie I hate?
No, what's that?
Southland Tales.
Yeah, it's weird I would say no, what's that? Because I just watched that movie and we're doing an episode about it.
What a crazy coincidence.
I left this movie with the same feeling I had when we saw Mother, where it's like, I don't know what just happened. I mean, this one I hated more, but I also don't know that I hated it. It left me fundamentally confused about the nature of what just happened.
Yeah. I think arguably, and it's hard for me to not talk about this movie for what it isn't versus what it is, because I like a lot of weird, I really enjoyed Mother. I like some goofy stuff that goes off the rails. But this one I had such a hard time with. But I 100% agree with you that I sort of left it being like, God, that was a mess, but I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not happy about that at all.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it, but I liked it.
Yeah.
It's kind of. I think, like you've said on the show a bunch of times, because you're very repetitive.
Yes.
That you like movies that at least are kind of, go for something and fail less than try. Like you often reference it with the Marvel movies where they have a kind of a rote formula, and, you'd rather see somebody reach for the old brass ring and then get smacked in the face with a ring and then fall down a flight of steps.
They gave it a shot.
And this movie kind of, I don't know, I guess I sort of understand where you're coming from. Like, this movie felt like it's reaching in every direction. It is so weird, and you don't know where the purposefully shitty ends and the real shitty begins. And also, is that purposeful? Because the movie is very much about that melding of reality and fiction and kind of the gray area between the two. And
yeah.
And the fact that I can even say that about this movie makes me think this movie's a lot better than I'm giving it credit for.
But it's not at the same time. So just let's attempt to give a brief overview of, if not necessarily the plot, at least the world that this takes place in.
Yeah.
So there's a nuclear attack that happens in 2005, I believe, in Abilene, Texas. The United States doesn't know who did it exactly. No one has claimed anything. So they just go to war with all their enemies. You're told this largely through this huge information dump, sort of a la Would You Like to Know More in Starship Troopers. This sort of computer.
It's very much the kind of, this is them mocking the infotainment thing, where it's a still screen of a Fox News-esque screen, and then it's on the left there's ads for Penthouse and Bud Light and stuff.
Right.
It's like
Hustler.
Yeah. Oh, that was it, Hustler. Yeah.
So
so that's where the info dump happens, and this is the first 10 minutes of the film?
Yeah. So there's that's happening. So because of that, because this is really a post 9/11 reaction movie, the government has freaked out. There's interstate travel now requires a passport. The government has largely...
Wait, interstate travel requires a passport? Oh, I missed that part.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter.
Okay. I know Mexico has a passport.
Yeah, no, the whole interstate travel in the U.S. in this movie requires a passport. Happen? Yeah, because it mentions at the beginning.
Okay, I'm making a pledge right now. I'm going to stop interrupting when confusing things happen, because I just realized we'll never finish.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, please continue.
So that's the case. America's much more sort of militaristic and evangelical in certain ways. There's a faction of neo-Marxists in the liberal territories, particularly in California. There's an election happening that I think they also got rid of the Electoral College. Only popular votes matter, because there's an election happening and everyone's concerned about California.
No. This part I understood is that they're worried about the electoral votes of California, because it's the first time that California could go Republican.
Okay.
Was the... I don't remember if it's actually in the movie or it's something I read, but that's one of the ones. I remember specifically saying 55 electoral votes, which I don't know if that's true, but I remember seeing that.
They do have, I think I don't know. Anyway, this is one of those things that I almost wish I hadn't read more into it before we did this, because I have knowledge now that's not in the movie because I bothered to do more research on this thing.
Oh, see, you got to research afterwards.
Yeah, there's stuff that's not presented in but we'll get to that. Because, like, as you already can kind of guess, the plot of this movie is a mess. But, so that's going on. There's this huge, the big Republican ticket is Frost somebody else.
Frost somebody versus
Clinton Lieberman.
Lieberman, yeah.
There's this whole thing with...
Well, this part I know. Are you about to talk about with the voiceover narration by Pilot Aberline?
Yeah, let's go ahead and just get to that.
The Book of Revelation says that my accent will have 4 horses, and on those 4 horses, one will be riding a white steed, and its name will be Death. And I'm going to be strangely charismatic, even though I suck at acting. So it's Justin Timberlake does the voiceover.
Good old JT.
And he's Pilot Abilene, or Aberdeen. Or
Abilene. It is Abilene,
okay.
Yeah.
And he was a studio actor, or a Hollywood actor, and when the forced conscription happened, they drafted people, or maybe he signed up. Either way, he went to war. World War III. Kind of a la Elvis back in the day. And he gets a bit of his face blown off by friendly fire grenade. Now, I don't know if we learned this now, but frankly, there's going to be a lot of out-order stuff.
Yeah.
That friendly fire grenade was thrown by another one of our lead characters, Detective Stifler. I don't know his name.
Tavener.
Roland
yes. Tavener.
Played by
Sean William Stifler. Yeah.
That's the voiceover. He talks about what's going on. He introduces U.S. Ident, which is kind of like almost like a beefed up version of the Patriot Act made into like almost if it fucked the NSA, like two elephants that fuck in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, which as soon as that came up, I was
not expecting that.
Yeah.
That was weird. And then later, just spoil it later. That commercial where they have the SUV fuck the other SUV was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
There were so many like just goofy asides in this movie where I'm like, what did I just watch? And why did I just watch
I was amazed by that.
And I feel like it hurts its overall point.
All right, so introducing a U.S. ident, which is, I guess, the guy that's either the face of or very related to is Senator Frost, who is one of our kind of lead story movers. Senator Frost is introduced to us when he says, "And I chose the road less traveled by." Now, John, do you know who wrote that poem?
Yeah, Robert Frost.
Oh, Robert Frost. So you mean Bobby Frost of the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing. I bring this up as an example. Is that bad or is that amazing? Because this movie, I mean, is this the tone he's going for? Where that kind of thing is like, no, is that artful choice or is that, oh, this guy's an idiot? And I still don't know. Yeah,
because it's one of those things like, is that coming out of the writer or is that coming out of the character? You know, where it's tough to tell. But this US ident also tracks you throughout cyberspace because that's a big thing too.
Oh, that's right.
I mentioned that.
And they're responsible for, you have to show, give your name and your thumbprint anywhere you go. Not anywhere you go, but like major stuff.
Yeah, that's how you do stuff now.
Now, this is where kind of the fast forward beginning slows down. We sort of enter, not necessarily plot, but we start to, it's not just all voiceover and watching things. Where we meet US ident, where we can start slowing down slightly here. Why is there a group of 5 little people working at US ident?
Because isn't that weird?
Because here's the thing. We've got a person named the Wizard, played by Wallace Shawn. We've got the lady that runs US ident with the pointy dress going back.
His name is Baron.
Yeah, but they call him the Wizard of whatever. Yeah. The lady that works there has pointy dress behind it, a la the Wicked Witch of the West. There's a weird Wizard of Oz subplot or like reference, but it never really went enough anywhere to be anything other than just it's sort of, because for a while I was going through the movie, I'm like, all right, so who's the Tin Man? Who needs it? But no, it doesn't work. It's just they just have weird Wizard of Oz overtones. Yeah.
So there's this US ident that's run by Frost's wife, played by Miranda Richardson. I don't remember her name. And she's the brains of the operation, really. Which I was very excited to see. One of Frost's henchmen is John Larroquette.
That's right.
Who I've not seen in a long time, and I was very excited to see.
Yeah, with an almost believable Southern accent.
Yeah.
Which accents in this movie that are believable, hard to come by.
Yeah. So that's introduced, and then you're introduced to Boxer Santeros, played by The Rock, where there's this whole thing where he's found in the desert.
Oh, well, before that, we meet Wallace Shawn and Curtis Armstrong.
Right,
so
Booger.
That's right,
Revenge
the
of the
Inconceivable guy and Booger from Revenge. Who also, he's very funny. I follow him on Twitter. He was on the Harmontown podcast a bunch of times.
Nice.
Lovely man. But what weird casting.
Yes.
So they're the scientists.
Uh-huh.
Wallace Shawn's mother is there.
Mm-hmm. And so is the lady from Poltergeist.
The lady from Poltergeist is there. And Booger from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
There is some, I mean, we can't name all of the weird people that show up in this movie, but I'm going to try to do it. So we meet them first. And then before we meet Boxer Santeros, because he shows up as an aside after meeting, well, I think we meet Will Sasso as Fortunio first.
Right.
He's Fortunio. He's talking to Sarah Michelle Gellar, who is a porn star named
Krista Now.
Crystal Now.
Krista Now.
Krista Now. Okay, Krista Now. And then Will Sasso as Fortunio is a bad guy?
Producer?
Oh, he's a producer. That's right. Yeah, a bad guy. I was right.
Sure.
So they're introduced as kind of being together. That's when The Rock is introduced. Maybe we're slightly out of order. But The Rock has amnesia.
Yes. Boxer Santeros, who is...
Sorry. Yeah, can we just call him... No, we can't because he's got another identity.
Well, yeah. So he's tied to... he's married to Frost's daughter. So Boxer Santeros is really... So he's got ties to the Republican Party. Boxer Santeros is this loose Arnold Schwarzenegger guy. In fact, there's this whole subplot later involving a script that he wrote where he plays a character named Jericho Kane.
Oh, we'll get to that in depth because I'm going to read the synopsis of that because it's the funniest thing ever, but that will come later.
So absurd. Yeah. So, that he's gone missing. Like, he's been discovered in the desert. Fortunio has discovered him in the desert, but largely... For the rest of the world, he's gone missing, and people are concerned about that. But he is with Fortunio and is shacked up with Krista Now. Yeah. There's also we should mention that with the scientists is that they're plugging a thing called that they've discovered called fluid karma.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take a little break to talk about fluid karma here for a second. Fluid karma is the energy source that is derived from the world. It's also a drug.
Yes.
That was given to soldiers so they become psychic.
Yep.
All of this was predicted and put into the screenplay The Power by psychic porn actress Krista Now.
Krista Now, yeah.
Now let's just think about that. That's amazing.
Do I have to?
No, but that's amazing. Like, take it out of context. Like, because here's the thing: I think this film wasn't artfully made, but it's kind of amazing. Like. That happened in a movie.
Yeah.
Like, I might be going a little Fifth Element here, but like...
No, there was... and to be fair, I thought of you during this, because when you're being like, every choice this movie could make is a bizarre one.
Especially the casting.
The casting is bizarre. The casting is full of old Saturday Night Live actors from different eras.
Yeah.
Like Nora Dunn, John Lovitz, Sherry O'Terry, Amy Poehler.
Oh, you know, sorry.
Yeah.
We missed... Who's my favorite in every movie she's ever been in? Bai Ling as Serpentine.
Bai Ling is amazing because
she's amazing.
It kind of feels like she went, hey, you know how Asians are often, particularly Asian women are often in movies, is to be this sort of exotic, weird thing. What if I leaned into that real hard? Because she's always just a nightmare lunatic. And this movie made me appreciate that because before I've just seen her in a couple of things and she was on Lost and it's kind of eye-rolling whatever. But particularly in the context of this movie, I could not imagine a better person for that role.
I fell in love with her when I heard the writer-director of the Jason Statham movies with the
Crank?
Crank.
Yeah.
And she's in that and they just talk about you just kind of point the camera at her and she just does stuff. Like, it's just, and then
she's everything Paz de la Huerta wants to be.
I saw that movie and I was like, oh, she's just the best. So now I'm kind of enamored with her. Like, she may be my favorite actress, even though I don't think she knows she's acting.
No, there's a scene later on a dirigible or an airship, because why wouldn't there be, in this movie, where the camera is following her, and I'm so irritated with this movie that I'm just like, I want this to be, why are we spending so much time doing this? We're not getting anything from following her. That's her just like being weird and walking
dancing
around
with people,
and it's like, fine. I think they just went, okay, we're just going to follow you walking through this, do whatever, and she did, and they decided to use that.
That's when we meet Nora Dunn. She's kind of Krista's like PR lady almost.
Well, she's a porn director.
Oh no, she's a director. Okay, but she's kind of like in charge of her career, right? Like she's got like a mentor.
Sort of. Yeah, Krista.
That's kind of odd.
Krista now has this whole empire going where she has. I don't know if she does porn any longer, but she has a like reality show that sort of follows her around.
Oh, that's
and
right.
a
Yeah.
talk show
and an energy drink.
Her other friends and an energy drink, and she has a single. And I do love this. She has a single called "Teen Horniness is Not a Crime."
Wonderful.
Yeah, that is so great. Not only just because I have a tattoo of that, but
I've always wondered about that tattoo, especially whilst making love.
Yes, well, it's not a crime. I fully believe that.
Yeah, well, we're pretty hardcore edgy teens.
You might have noticed by now with some of the stuff we're talking about, because what is Wallace Shawn's name? Baron von like Westphalen,
Baron von Evil Guy or something. Westphalen. Yeah.
This movie leans so hard on goofy names in this very like Philip K. Dick kind of way that. If you have any idea what that should kind of set you up to what you're kind of getting into. At the same time, is really, really irritating. Like everyone's name was just like goofball, crazy person.
Yeah, like Big Boutte.
Yeah, but different because that serves a purpose.
Because here's the thing: is that this reminded me a lot of Buckaroo Banzai. No, not favorably, not disfavorably, but there's parts where. I think if they made a slightly different turn with it, it would have gotten it right and gone Buckaroo Banzai, but they wanted to go a little more serious at parts.
Right. Well, I think one of the, and I thought about this too, I went with more like the movies of Ben Wheatley, like in the A Field in England or Achilles to some extent, where you're dropped in sort of in medias res.
Yeah.
Like things are already happening. And I kind of enjoy that movie sometimes.
Wait, in what?
In medias res.
The host of MSD3K?
Yep.
Okay. Jodo Ray.
Yeah, no, I got that. That's just, yeah. It's like Southland Tales, the joke. But no, so things are already happening, and you kind of have to get up to speed. But there's so much going on that this movie, and that opening crawl gives you some stuff, but you're sitting through it going, wait, what?
Yeah.
What? And then, okay, go. This movie does not care whether or not you are on board or not. It is going.
The way this movie reads, and it is very much a response to 9/11, which the director's previous movie, Donnie Darko, was pretty much ruined by 9/11. It was going to open, I think, like the month afterwards, and Donnie Darko features a fucking plane flying through a building,
right?
Or a engine dropping through. It doesn't matter. A thing that people didn't want to watch in October 2001, and I think it weighed heavily on him in a very different way as far as creatively. But this movie felt like in 1989, if somebody said a movie in the actual present 2017, people would be like, there's a fucking way the world's like
right,
that.
Yeah.
It actually, because the thing is, this movie feels actually kind of realistic and predictive in a lot of ways, but also completely batshit weird. And it's one of those things I thought read well.
Yeah. I think that's true. And there's been one of the reasons I suggested this is there's been a sort of resurgence of articles about like, well, 10 years on, let's give this another look because this is certain people have been like, well, this has been something I've actually really loved, and it turns out now it's more. It means more now than it did then. Like you could read it with the post 9/11 thing and when it came out, but there's a lot of it that fits more now.
For real, and there's stuff that I don't know how predictive it is, and where it's so much of this is just the world we live in now that it's not absurdist. That it's like, well, if I saw this in what year did this come out? 2008,
2007.
Yeah, if I thought this was 2007, would I think? How much of this would, because we live in an absurdist world right now. Donald fucking Trump is the president. Like, we live in an absurd alternate reality at this point. How much of this would have been absurdist back in 2007, which is a crazy thing to ask because it's only 10 years ago. But like, I don't know. I don't know what 2007 Alexx would have thought.
Yeah. And it's weird. Like I'm kind of curious. Same thing. What I would have thought, because there is also part of me that is, I'm convinced there's scratch that. I'm not going to go into that. I will say
conspiracy. Yeah, we've heard your theories before. Yes. You keep cutting them out of every episode.
I like that in that conceit that every episode I'm like, no, but this time I know how to explain it, and I hear it in the edit. And it's like, no, I got to work on that. But I think it also works in 2017 as a almost send up of prestige TV. Because this movie would be a great prestige TV show.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Because so much stuff is like it's this giant stupid mystery box.
Oh, that's
and
such a
all
good
these
point.
all these things could be like, all these storylines would make more sense if you spread them out. And then when you get to the reveal, it's all like,
oh my John, that is the best point
Yeah.
ever. This is fucking Westworld.
Yeah.
This is like Prestige. You're exactly
So
right.
this is a great send up of Prestige TV. I think.
Who is Pilot Abilene, or who's that voice we keep hearing? Who is Boxer Centauros really Boxer Centauros, or is he Chev Chelly? What's his alter ego name?
Jericho Kane.
Is he Jericho Kane? That's such a good point. You're right. This is such like, if this were spread out over 3 seasons, this would be just absolute.
Yeah. This would be.
Oh, and the casting works too. This is like Lost, where it's a whole bunch of kind of rehashed actors showing up. Oh, that's so
Can
good.
you imagine the weekly fucking hot takes written about this thing?
Oh, you're so right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's particularly why, like, journalists and bloggers now, they're like, looking back at it, whoa, this was really prescient. This is really good, because that's your job now, is to pick apart nonsense and try to give it meaning.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really good...
let's just end there.
Yeah.
Like, you finally made a good point. This show's over.
I win.
Episode 15-ish. John finally makes a point Alex agrees with on a fundamental level. The show is now canceled.
Sorry, I blew out the mic there.
Yeah,
I was so excited.
Back to the thing, because we were actually still not really in the main thrust. Here's the thing with this movie: there is no main thrust of the plot. This is a whole movie of B plots with an A plot. That this movie is actually the movie of Wallace Shawn and Curtis, and then there's probably a hero somewhere trying to stop them. That's not the movie we're watching.
No.
Like somewhere in like whatever's north of Los Angeles, there's a hero trying desperately to save Los Angeles, but he can't get there in time because of the border check. But all right, so we meet Nora Dunn, who is the neo-Marxist tie-in to the film. Mm-hmm. Krista mentions that she's banging Boxer Centauros. That's where the idea comes, all right, let's film them fucking, because Boxer Centauros is dating the senator's daughter.
Yeah, well, I'm married to, I believe.
Oh, married to, yeah. So I don't believe it. I think that's heteronormative, and I don't buy into it.
There's this whole subplot about Proposition 69, which I never really understood what that was, other than a really tired joke.
Oh, what? Oh, God damn it! I looked it up last night. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Yeah.
But it does. But it doesn't, because that's this movie. Is that this movie is such, like you said, like, I'm not sure how much of this is sort of metatextual, or or how much of it is sort of a sly wink, how much of it is like, no, this is what I'm doing here is really good. There's some stuff that you cannot read as serious. Like, there's no way that there's not like a hint of irony in there.
No, there's 100%. This movie is written and articulated well with irony. Like, I have no doubt that a lot of it was intentional. Mm-hmm. All of the Kristen Now stuff, a lot of the Brock stuff, the fact that, like, how dumb the script they write is, a lot of it is purposeful, ironic, and really well done. And I think the thing is, much like Phil K. Dick, there's another layer that's also well done of making fun of things that make fun of things. And then the third layer of fiction versus nonfiction. And by the time you come out of the other side, you're really confused. And you're like, well, did the balloons actually get eaten by the tree? Who was Hephaestus the whole time? I'm making fun of myself in the book.
There was a certain amount of this book, this movie, that feels like someone describing their dream to you.
Yeah.
Because it is like, okay, my head's made of pudding, but you don't know that. But you do know that. And so what you do is you get in this bumper car, and it's exhausting. Yeah. Because it's not only like what we talked about already, where there's, you need a passport to get between states. Why is that information there? Like, so much of the stuff could be pared, if you were interested in just the story of the movie, so much of it could be pared down. And I think so much of the extraneous stuff, while creating this bizarre tapestry in this bizarre world, some of it works, some of it doesn't, dilutes whatever point you were trying to make, unless that is the point, in which case, cool. I don't know.
At this point, but this feels like latter-day David Lynch to me, where it's weird, it's absurdist, but it's also kind of so navel-gazy. They're like, is he doing this purposefully, or is he holding the shot for 56 seconds in David Lynch's case because that's art, or because he's a deranged old man and he thinks that's art?
Yeah,
and there's a lot of overlap with it.
I have had conversations with friends about this as well, and because I figured David Lynch was going to come up in this, and I was thinking about while watching it, because I had such an impressive amount of patience for the more recent season of Twin Peaks, the third season of Twin Peaks, which I really, really enjoyed, that I was having a hard time mustering for this. And I think a couple things were at play. One was David Lynch having built up a whole lot of goodwill in the past of like, well, I like this guy. I'm willing to give him a chance to see what's going. Whereas I don't like Donnie Darko, so I don't have that same basis for Richard Kelly. But also, I think, and it's a whole different thing. But I think David Lynch doing it is more artful and to sound like a dick here, painterly than the way Richard Kelly does it. I think Richard Kelly's is, like I said, it's just the psycho fever dream that he has ripped out all these pages of different Philip K. Dick books and slapped them all together on a cocaine binge and gone here. And it's going back and watch it again, my opinion might change about it, but because it's just so messy, David Lynch will waste your time with stuff. Like it'll go on forever slow, but there's not a bajillion characters and 86 different plot lines happening. And I think it's hard to focus on some of the stuff that's these other layers that you were talking about when I'm having trouble with layer one.
Yeah, I should clarify this because I don't think you read it that way, but I want to be clear. I wasn't comparing them in like a but I'm talking to the audience here.
Okay.
I'm not that dumb.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I can see where there's like this kind of, there is a comparison in like the way that the kind of sensory affront and the way that it hits you, but this is not artful.
Well, and then I mean also dream logic and just weird things coming out of left field.
There's also a point with this movie as well, and I'm not a kind of editor apologist, but I sort of am in some cases. And this one screams, because they said they ran out of money, they had to beg to get some of the special effects fixed. I feel like if he had gotten Richard Kelly had gotten, I don't know, an extra $4 million. I have no idea how much things cost. But like if you said, okay, here, you have artistic carte blanche, extra $4 million, you have another 2 weeks with the major cast. I think this movie could be like incredible. I think a lot of the stuff that really sticks out is because I think there's editing, kind of jarred editing that was forced because they didn't, not that they didn't have it, but they didn't have what they need to create this film. And I think a lot of that was budgetary.
Yeah,
like it just feels like there was stuff that could have been done, and it just kind of like, I think that's why there's weird musical numbers, and like there's just stuff that it's like you're trying to get weird across in a way that I think probably would have been effective in another way. Sure. Or I'm giving him too much credit, and he just kind of sucks at making movies. I don't know.
I just think, and there was a review of this that I read that kind of made me mad because his thesis at the end of it was essentially that I'm glad this movie exists because it's just unfettered imagination, and that's awful. Because you can just do that. You can just spit a bunch of stuff on a film, but that doesn't make it enjoyable to watch. And there's stuff that I don't like some of Nicholas Winding Refn's stuff that is just really self-indulgent and bonkers. But there's an artfulness to it that I enjoy, where when this feels so plot-centric and so story-heavy, it's harder for me to enjoy that than if it's just more of an aesthetic thing, I guess. And so I do agree. I do think that there's something here. And I imagine a future where technology has advanced this thing that you can just sort of recreate whatever movie you want, and that this would be a great exercise in film school. Yeah. To be like, okay, here's this movie, make something out of it.
No, you're totally right.
You know, like not take all of this and make it good, but just use stuff from this and make a movie out of this. Yeah. Because there's so many subplots and just stuff going on. But there's a lot of interesting ideas and cool stuff in there, but it's just there's so much of it just spat out at you at once.
What's interesting is I read that after the first cover showed at Cannes and was booed mercilessly, they actually cut a subplot out, which is shocking that there could have been another subplot.
Well, there's a blink if you miss it appearance by Janine Garofalo. Because
I saw her in the IMDb. I didn't notice her in the film.
At the very end, Pilot Abilene and people are kind of dancing in the arcade. She's in like the lower right hand corner of the screen. She just sort of like turns and looks at. She's all in fatigues, and it's there was a whole subplot with her, I guess, that actually it might have been Roger Ebert or someone else. Another review of it that I read that was commenting that they lost that they actually liked her subplot, but they got rid of it because. It would make sense too, because what isn't ancillary in this film? So
we meet Cheri Oteri, and Cheri Oteri goes and buy blanks, bullets. Yes. Oh, so she comes with this idea that she had kidnapped a cop, the twin brother, wink, of Sean William Scott.
Yes, Roland and Ronald Tavener.
Yeah, she kidnaps him, gets his brother to go, okay, you're going to be a racist cop, you're going to shoot a black person on film, and Boxer Centaurus is going to be there with you, and that's going to be like this damning bit of evidence to keep Frost from getting elected. So she goes and buys blanks, and I know we don't need to bring this up, but Christopher fucking Lambert is in this movie.
Talk about crazy casting.
Christopher Lambert, which, by the way, Christopher Lambert looks like $1 million fucking bucks.
Yeah.
That man looked handsome in 1984 when The Highlander came out, and he doesn't look 30 years older.
Yeah, not too bad.
Like, God, I was annoyed at how fucking handsome Christopher Lambert is, because I haven't talked about being attracted to a man on the show in a while. But goddamn, Christopher Lambert is looking fucking nice.
No, he's a handsome guy, and he drives a ice cream truck full of a bunch of machine guns and Chekhov's rocket launcher.
That's true. Well done.
Yeah, and sells she's there buying blanks. And then writes him a check.
I don't know why, but that actually scene made me laugh because that's. So by the way, you realize that's Amy Poehler's husband or brother, because they're both Hmong.
Yeah.
So they're either married or. So I just love the fact that she just need her friend's husband or brother in the balls because she tried to pass a check to him.
I think it was the brother, because I think she's supposed to be married to Wood Harris, her
from
fake
Cheers?
husband in the thing. Yes. Well, yeah. No, from The Wire.
Yeah, his dad killed Kennedy. Yeah.
Yep. Same guy.
Deep cut.
But so, and it was funny because it took me a second to get that joke, because when she was writing the check, I was like, is it like a screen? Is this I was trying to figure out some kind of future technology. It took me a while to be like, oh, she's writing a check. And it's dumb because you're buying illegal weapons with a personal check.
I actually found that amusing.
It just took me a second.
Fun little thing. And really, that scene we didn't need to talk about that, but fucking Christopher Lambert is in this movie. The goddamn Highlander. They're going to fake the death of, what's her name, Amy Poehler?
Amy Poehler and Wood Harris, who are performance artists, slam poets, basically.
Yes. I mean, can we just a small aside? Them putting on the prosthetic makeup is hilarious.
Yeah, so they can't just be themselves. Because she's worried about getting recognized, which is dumb because she's just, like I said, like a slam poet person. And they're putting on these just absurd noses, which I'm sure has some sort of meaning about the phoniness, and I don't know.
I just thought it was funny. I didn't even try to read.
At that point, I wasn't interested in getting too much of a deep read on this movie. I was just sort of, okay. I was sort of just letting it wash over me because so much was happening and so much was just so silly.
Okay, at some point here, we get introduced to the concept of them having written The Power. Because I think we go into... because it's before he meets Tavener, before The Rock meets Tavener. Yes. I think we get an explanation of what the movie actually is.
Because that's why he's with Tavener, because he wants to do... Because they bring Tavener in because he wants to do a ride-along to learn about his character.
Okay.
And I will say this. I'll say this for this entire movie, for how much of a mess I think this movie is I think the acting in it is actually pretty decent.
Dude, The Rock is good as fuck in this.
And I'll get to The Rock in a second, but just... Everyone, there's some of the dialogue is just saying some of the dumbest shit ever. And everyone does it with aplomb. Sarah Michelle Gellar is fantastic in this. And so just big ups for actors, huge shout out for actors for having to say the dumbest fucking thing.
Yeah.
And pretending like you believe
it.
And
they did a great job. Like the Sarah Michelle Gellar stuff was really funny.
Yeah.
Though, and she worked well casting her, because a lot of this was kind of like weird, kind of against the part casting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think somebody funnier in that role would have been fucking hilarious, because she had pretty good comedic timing.
Yeah.
But she had some really funny lines that if somebody that's a little bit funnier, like The Rock, that dude just can read anything and be charming. Well, yeah. And he had some great comedic moments.
So The Rock was interesting in this on two levels. One, that he's a almost regular sized person in this. Instead of just the cartoonish behemoth that he is now. And so I was kind of struck by that, because I haven't seen a movie with The Rock in a long time, that he was tiny in this comparatively.
I couldn't figure that out, because he had just finished professional wrestling at this point. And
he's still jacked. But I mean, if you look at him now, in the ads for Jumanji or whatever, or in the Fast and Furious movies, he is goofy.
It was just weird. I noticed that, because he's Sarah Michelle Gellar is like a wee lady, and I mean, it was like Ian McKellen and whatever in Bilbo and fucking Lord of the Rings, where it's like, how did you shoot that to make them look like they're the same species? I mean, because he's like this Adonis god that came down from a fucking mountain, and then just like wee little Sarah Michelle Gellar, and somehow they're like look the same size. It was really, not the same size, but it was.
But also in terms of defending the argument that now, or agreeing with the argument that this movie's better now, is The Rock. I don't think The Rock at that time was nearly the powerhouse.
No, he was barely an actor. He had just done like The Mummy and The Scorpion thing,
and so seeing to the point where I'm kind of tired of The Rock's shtick. He's moved away from it a little bit, where it's just like, I'm this giant beefcake guy, but I've got this heart of gold, and I'm actually a softie. There's just a lot of movies that capitalize on that. But he does it well. The guy's a charm machine. He's great. And so to see him go this weird, paranoid, super anxious weirdo is kind of great. Yeah. And at first it reads a little bit like, you're terrible at this. But then you kind of realize, no, this is just the character that you're playing. Yeah. And he kind of becomes almost more human as he goes through it. But when he first shows up, everything's very stilted and strange. But I guess it's kind of supposed to be because what he's been through.
So we're going to have a ride along with Tavner and him. And so this is about here where they explain what the power, the thing.
The script.
So the script is the power. Now, basically, Sarah Michelle Gellar became psychic after getting hit in the head and intuited the future. Now, I don't know if that's in the movie, but it was it's written about enough that apparently she's psychic, and that's why she wrote a screenplay that predicted the future.
Right.
Let me read the Salon encapsulation of what the Power screenplay is about. Mm-hmm. So they say, The Power is a pretty hilarious piece of work. It has a similar plot to the Southland tales, but with different characters and more gratuitous product placement. Its story overlaps with the movie, so explain some of the backstory. This is The Power. It's the story of Jericho Kane, a renegade Los Angeles police officer, and Boxer Santaro's doppelganger, who teams up with Dr. Muriel Fox, a psychic stripper, and Krista Now doppelganger, to protect a baby named Caleb. The reasons for this are never really explained, but Caleb is the child of Tawna and Rick McBride, a couple in Palmade, California, or whatever, Palmdale, I just said Palmade. Caleb does not produce bowel movements, but when he farts, the earth shakes. Muriel and Jericho take their child after its parents are killed, and under Muriel's guidance drive to a farmhouse, where they are met by Serpentine, the Baron's mistress. Serpentine explains that the world is coming to an end. The rotation of the Earth is slowing at a rate of 0.0000006 miles per hour every day. The baby, she explains, is the Messiah, and Jericho is his guardian. As part of his job, Jericho must tattoo a symbol from every world religion onto his body, and when the Messiah reaches maturity, the, in quotes, winning religion symbol will bleed snake blood. The screenplay ends at a McDonald's restaurant when Caleb starts belching noxious gas and launching fireballs. The restaurant starts floating into space. Kane loses consciousness. The world ends. That is the plot of the screenplay within the screenplay.
And it fits so perfectly into this movie.
Because that's the thing. This is a Philip K. Dick thing where it's overlayered with reality. So they predicted the future but didn't quite get it. So the floating restaurant is the floating ice cream truck. That's the thing. This movie's kind of great, but also they should have made it better.
The problem is ultimately the problem is, and why I think it fails, is that regardless of how you're trying to tell the story, as sort of as artful or whatever, I don't think he adequately does that. I don't think he gets the ideas across. I think he has so many ideas that it's just a mess. And I feel like you could get almost the same script and put it in the hands of a more adept filmmaker and get something, or at least in editing, like whittle it down or do something to it where, because there's stuff for as long as this is like a 2.5 hour long movie.
The 240.
Yeah. For even cutting 20 minutes. Yeah. There's so much stuff that's so unnecessary, that just like pads the movie like for no reason, or just subplots that like this doesn't really. I get the point you're kind of making here, but it feels like this point is also made here. This doesn't really help.
By the way though, it's a breezy 240.
Yeah, like it's not too bad.
I didn't feel
compared to Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, I didn't feel myself like. At one point I went, oh god, this movie's dragging a little bit. I'm gonna look at how long it's been running, and there's gonna be another fucking hour 40 left, and I had like 30 minutes left in the movie. Like there's parts that lull, but boy, like it really flies. Like it does its job as a thing to have you stare at and forget about the world you live in.
Yeah. Because I was just confused about this world I was watching for a lot of it. There's stuff in here too, and I don't know. Do we want to jump around, or do you want to keep sort of barreling forward?
I think I just wanted to get us established into the plot. So basically, Boxer and Tavener, Sean William Scott, they bond over the fact that he's racist. Sean William Scott is supposed to be racist, which that part didn't make sense to me in the...
Yeah.
But we just skip it, because I think that's one of those things you're never going to be able to answer. They go to do the fake murder. John Lovitz shows up, who, by the way, John Lovitz rules in this movie.
John Lovitz as another cop.
Yeah, as another cop. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. My habit of calling characters by their name they're in Los Angeles. So John Lovitz as another cop shows up. He's an actual badass cop, as shown, shows up and then really kills them. But what it turns out is it was a double cross.
Right.
Because Sherry O'Terry, or one of them,
yeah,
they're all confusing to me, had paid him off, and they were actually fucking, and he was part of the whole thing to get a real murder caught on tape, not a fake murder.
Right.
Because...
Yeah. I'm not real... To thwart the neo-Marxist, I'm not real clear what her motivation was.
Well, she's trying to... No, she's trying to stop Prop 69...
Right.
No, she's trying to get Prop 69 passed, because Prop 69 dials back idents. 69 dials back the ident things. Like, it would take away their power. That's why all those cutaway commercials of going like, I like my guns, and paid for by Frost, whatever.
Yeah.
So her plan is actually the plan. She just wants to do it for real for some reason.
Yeah. That bit, the murder scene, was hilarious. Because it's supposed to be this fake thing, so they have squibs hooked up to him. Amy Poehler and Wood Harris have squibs hooked up to him. So when John Lovitz actually shoots them, they're being monitored by the people that was trying to set this up, and the guy operating the exploding blood packs fires them off like after they've been shot. With this huge pause in between, and it's really funny.
Yeah,
for witnessing a cop murder.
Yeah.
Particularly in this day and age, it still made me laugh.
So that's the setup. All the characters are in place. The rest of the dominoes will begin to fall. What were you gonna say?
Who even knows now?
Hopefully
but it got me thinking about like Justin Timberlake's character.
Yeah.
In all of this, There's a couple of things that he's kind of has a hand in, but he's largely. What?
Well, he saves.
He doesn't. But he seems like he's in a different movie entirely.
Well, so originally he was supposed to just be a narrator, and then they hired him to actually show up and play a part, which was the behind the scene things. The one time where he influences the plot a little bit in a very, very uncomfortable scene is where one of the people that works at US IDEN has read the Power screenplay. Mm-hmm. And she associates herself with one of the characters in it.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember.
Muriel Fox. She decides she's Muriel Fox.
She decides she's Muriel Fox. So she has spoken to The Rock on a couple of occasions and set him up to do various things. But one of the times, she meets him on the beach, as shown in the screenplay. Mm-hmm. She's play acting Muriel Fox. But then in the end of it, she pulls a gun out and says, I'll blow your fucking head off unless you let me suck your dick.
Yeah. Well, she threatened suicide first. She'll shoot herself.
Oh, that's
unless
right.
She let,
my apologies. My apologies. Yes, you're right. The whole threatening suicide thing, we'll get to that in a second. There's a long scene of her screaming about how she wants to suck this guy's cock.
Yeah.
Then points a gun at him when it seems like he's about to take his dick out. So Justin Timberlake shoots her. Right. Which was weird.
Because like that's a part of the army is dudes in swivel guns on the coast that also operate as a police force. Because that happens later too. But that whole scene, I started thinking about Grant Morrison's The Filth, which is
I didn't read that one.
It's a super. It's Grant Morrison. It's super bizarre, but like hyper-sexualized and this weird reality folding in on itself thing. And that really, because I was already on the Philip K. Dick thing with just the names alone, made me go, okay, this is a Philip K. Dick.
Well, also time travel, story within a story.
Right.
Bad science explained away by saying, that's how it works. You know?
Right. So I think, and so like that got me thinking about that as well. And this sort of like this hypersexualized nonsense, which some of that stuff didn't, whatever point they were trying to make with her porn stardom and the tie-ins with that, or like the fact there was a battleship that had like Hustler written on the side, felt hollow compared to the rest of it. whatever point they're trying to make with that didn't read as well.
Yeah,
as
the
some
kind
of
of
the other stuff.
infotainment, sensationalized porn / news culture.
Right.
I get where they're going very much in a Battleship Troopers way, which you referenced earlier.
Starship Troopers.
What did I say?
Battleship Troopers.
Yeah, that's not the name of the movie.
No.
Starship Troopers. That's the name of the movie. I should have said that the first time.
That's okay.
And I'm leaving this in the edit because I'm going to edit far less than you because I'm Alex. They tried to do it that way, and it just wasn't enough of it to get it across. So it just kind of sat there, like especially with like ooh, Bud Light. Wow, how fucking edgy. Like, you know.
Yeah, like it just felt with all the other points this movie was trying to make. It's like, oh, and this too. Isn't this, you know, capitalism and this evangelicalism tied to this pornography stuff? Look at that.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. You're saying so much at me right now. I don't know.
Well, what's interesting though, Frost over the course of the movie starts to accept that in fact teen horniness is not a crime.
It's not a crime. Yeah.
So
he has some actual character growth.
What a weird bit of character development, because that's actually a thing that happens in the movie.
Yeah.
Again, that happened in the movie.
Yeah.
What happens next? I don't.
It doesn't. Yeah, I don't.
So
I don't even know.
So Boxers and Terrorists and Tavener,
Yeah.
The Rock and Stifler go to have lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Stifler sees two people, a punk rock guy that looks like the saxophone player from Lost Boys.
Yes, he does.
They walk away to talk. He walks away to talk to them. The Rock goes, shiny things.
Well, the Rock sees serpentine.
Yes, the shiny thing. Follows her into a bookstore. The people in the bookstore are hilarious bookstore stereotypes.
Yes.
Just watch it. He goes to the back and he meets the whole German philosopher, scientist gang, with the exception of Wall Sean and Booger, like, you know, the side characters. Mm-hmm. And they say, all the shit that you came up in your screenplay is real. This is true. Fluid karma actually is slowing the earth down. It's screwing things up. That you predicted the real future. Mm-hmm. This movie's so hard to understand.
Yeah, because it's just like they that scene happens and he just goes like, okay, and then that's the end of that scene, and then it moves on to something else. Because I think that actually, like, because this split up into chapters, sort of a la Kill Bill, but it starts with chapter 4. Because there's some prequel comics that have come out, but yes, this is 4.
Yeah,
so I think
Attack of the Clones. And,
right after that it goes to like chapter 5. So there's and it kind of like as if that scene didn't happen, because certainly the boxer doesn't change at all after that scene. Nothing's gained.
Well, he may, because he does start speaking more eloquently and like kind of like he's smarter towards the end of the film. So maybe he's getting like
I guess I didn't catch that.
Kind
at
of
that
into
point.
his own, but so. Around now, why not? One of the taverners, I think it's the one that was tied up in the chair, has broken out and he's in a dumpster.
Well, because there's a raid on the neo-Marxist headquarters.
I know, it's just skipping it because it's just
but I want to bring up that there's a scene that is my favorite scene in any movie. It's more of a shot, really, of a cameo of Eli Roth getting murdered on a toilet.
Yeah,
and
enough.
If this movie was just that shot, I'd be very happy. Because Eli Roth sucks. And he's a cameo in this, as well as another famous director that shows up later.
Yeah, we'll talk about
that.
That
made me so mad when I figured out who it was.
I was so happy. Oh, wait, we'll talk about it now. The first time they show him, and because it's from a longer away shot, and he hears his voice, I thought it was Philip Seymour Hoffman, because they have a similar voice in that scene. I went, who is that Philip? And then they see later about, motherfucker, that's Kevin Smith.
Yeah, what's driving me nuts is because I'm like, I know that voice, but I don't recognize the face at all. And then it wasn't until I heard him talk a little bit, and I was like, oh, fuck this movie.
And it reaffirmed your love of Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
So one of the taverners is in the dumpster after escaping from the ident people.
Yeah.
And his hand begins to glow. Mm-hmm. Now I bring this up because this is very important in the end of the film. But also, I could have just skipped it because it means fuck all.
Yeah. Yeah, his hand just glows. He's in the dumpster, and he's looking at his hand. His hand starts glowing. And then the movie's like, all right, we're done with him for a while.
All right, so whatever. Let's just fast forward a bit here.
Yeah.
The walls are... I don't even know. What happens now? Wait, is this when the music video happens?
No, I don't even know. Because the music video happens later... Because there's a whole thing.
Here's what happens around now, and maybe skipping, but within 15 minutes of now, we find out Inconceivable from Princess Bride is going to meet with the Prime Minister of Japan,
right,
to sell him. I think fluid karma, and I think it's I don't know if it's the drug one or the energy one.
Yeah, the rights to fluid karma or something.
Yeah, but there's 2 fluid karma, so I don't know.
Yeah.
And he makes a deal saying he will chop off his pinky,
right,
Yakuza style, for the deal. Serpentine chops off his whole hand. And then Wallace Shawn goes, you should have read the deal. We've got a 6-inch margin of error where the cut happens.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know if that whole thing was just to go like, see, he's actually kind of evil. Look at that. Maybe he's not as good as we think.
I guess.
But, yeah, it would just it felt like another sort of idea that didn't really get fleshed out. That was there. That whole scene, because again, nothing comes of that. Because it gets referenced earlier in his interview. Someone asks him like, "Are you going to sell the rights to Japan?" He's like, "This interview's over. We're done here."
Oh yeah.
And then it happens, and then it doesn't really matter. And I don't know if the whole idea was that it was supposed to be like that Fluid Karma's this sham, or just that he's a jerk. It's not a sham, because it's been making electricity for all of, sure,
X number of part of the world for a while. So it's a legit thing.
Okay. But
it's slowing the world down by 0.0000006.
No,
it's one of my favorite scenes of the movie where Rock's saying that, and Sarah Michelle Gellar is miming the zeros behind him.
That was great.
It's a lovely moment.
That whole scene where they're talking to Taverner and they're describing the script, and Will Sasso is barely keeping it together because it's so stupid. Made me really happy, because at that point in the movie, I wasn't sure. I wasn't fully on board yet I wasn't sure the movie was fully on board yet with what it was trying to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this supposed to be real, serious, or whatever? And he's just laughing. So I enjoyed that.
Here's an important thing. I have the Salon article open. I've been scrolling through to see if I could figure out what happens in this movie. I found the spot where sort of we are. I don't think we skipped anything too important. And I shall read you this. Meanwhile, Martin Kefauver, Lou Pucci, a young man dressed in hip-hop gear, beats Pilot Abilene at the Fire Arcade, where he exchanges pot for Fluid Karma. Abilene injects himself with Fluid Karma, collapses, and, in a dream sequence, dances a routine to the killer's "All the Things You've Done," while nurses twirl about him.
Now, there are people in some of the reviews that I've read that really claim this to be like the centerpiece of the movie, like a really important scene. Okay, I very curious where you get that read.
Yeah, I don't.
Because it felt just completely ancillary to the whole thing. Because I also just don't understand Pilot Abilene's role in all of this, other than to facilitate that dude getting drugs.
Yeah.
If it gives out the entire... I'm largely unfamiliar with that Killer song as well, and just the Killers in general. But I don't understand if that was supposed to lay out basically like what the whole movie's about, or like the message of the movie. I don't.
Yeah, I just thought it was extraneous. Yeah, I didn't know that people read into that. I just thought they were wasting time.
Yeah.
However, I'm looking at my notes here, and right before the arcade scene, which I'm going to get back to, I have a quote from John Lovitz that goes, "You want to fuck or watch a movie?"
Well, he says it in this really like, do you want to fuck or watch a movie? Like in the same, like not even with that pause, just in one go.
Fun.
It's kind of great.
So the arcade scene. Did you notice the games in the arcade?
No.
They have smiley faces over the logos. And you can see the front half of the S of Sega and a little bit of the A of the back of Sega with a smiley face sticker posted in the middle of it.
Nice.
It is the cheapest set that's ever existed. Yeah. They just went to an arcade.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm going to go back to the Salon article. Pilot Hip Hop Gear meets Pilot Abilene at the Fire Arcade.
Yeah.
Why is that not an Arcade Fire song?
I don't know.
They're at the fucking Fire Arcade.
Yeah.
Why
is
it
too on the nose?
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know with this movie.
Because here's the thing, I had to look this up later because I just assumed that song was by the Arcade Fire. Because why the fuck would you be at the Fire Arcade?
Right.
He has scoop feet, John.
Well, what I like in that, and I did think about Batman vs Superman, because when Pilot Abilene presents him with the drug, he gives this whole speech about like the Fluid Karma, like if it's blue, you're gonna feel cool. I don't remember. He has a whole rhyme like yellow will make you mellow. But then when he has like the red, he's like, "Do you bleed?" I was like, "You will."
Oh, yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
Weird that both their parents were named Martha.
Yeah. They cut that out after the Cannes Film Festival.
John, I've gotten us back to the Salon article, and I shall read you another thing. The final chapter of the film, 6, Wave of Mutilation.
Yes.
we learned that July 4th will be the launch date for the new Schreier Mega Zeppelin, the Jenny von Westphalen.
Yes.
That's just to catch up, because I just find that a really funny sentence to read out loud.
Yeah, well, because it took me a bit with that, because when they're in the Zeppelin now, they're in like Club Jenny or something, and I didn't realize until reading about it later that it's because she's the girlfriend of Karl Marx, the wife of Karl Marx, or whatever.
Yeah, you didn't know that? What are you, an idiot?
Yeah, I am.
I mean, I've known that since the end of your sentence.
But real quick before we get to that, talking about the fluid karma drug, it's when he takes it there, you've seen from people's POV earlier the kind of weird effects that it has, like Roland Taverner kind of having this weird freak out about it. And I really liked what you think is the drug earlier, but it might be something else. This scene is very early on where it's Sean William Scott in the mirror.
Yeah.
And he's just like tripping out, and his motions are just a beat off what, like being in tandem, like in sync. And I thought that was kind of cool. It's just like a neat idea.
No, I really like that. I was trying to figure out where to talk about that, and we'd already skipped it. But no, that was totally great. Because it also had the pacing of the delay was different. Early in the scene, it's slightly off, but then there's like, it's, I don't know, 0.2 of a second. But then it's almost a full second kind of towards the end, and it's like, oh, that's cool.
Well, which I liked that, and even though that's not necessarily the drug. Because when you would see it from the people's POV, it was just sort of like weird CG kind of like distending of things and pushing back, what you would imagine it like a TV drug trip sort of looks like. And I was kind of, for as special as this was supposed to be, I was a little bit on a tactical level, just sort of like, oh, okay, we're just doing that, huh?
Oh, so speaking of that, because we're very near the end of the film in talking about it, because I have no idea what happens in this movie. Let me ask you a small question, because what are those glowing balls that happen in the movie? The lady, the tiny Zelda lady, is holding a blue one while she's standing on the steps.
Sure.
The Rock finds one on the Zeppelin when he gets the gun out of the emergency. There's these weird glowing round balls that show up across the film.
They're fluid karma, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, why not?
Yeah, anything that you don't understand, that's fluid karma.
Metachlorine, fluid karma. Yeah. Okay, we're hitting kind of the confluence of things.
Well, yeah, so...
By that, nothing ever comes together in this movie. And to have a denouement, you might as well just make another movie where things make enough sense.
Yeah, because The Rock has already, like, reconnected. They found The Rock. The Rock's, by this point, has already come back to see his wife and Frost, but then leaves again. And his wife, I think, is pregnant with someone else's baby on top of that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true.
Which doesn't matter.
And then Sherry O'Terry meets John Larroquette and tasers him in the nuts.
Nora Dunn does that.
Nora Dunn. I never watched Saturday Night Live, so I don't know who anybody is. Yeah.
Sherry O'Terry is the one that she and John Lovitz get shot.
Oh, that's Sherry O'Terry. Okay,
yeah, she and John Lovitz get... At some point, Sarah Michelle Gellar gets the tape of the murder, but she thinks it's a tape of her and Boxer having sex, and Sherry O'Terry is chasing her through a marketplace and gets shot. It doesn't matter. It's like, okay,
that actually hasn't happened yet as far as we're in the narrative, because I just saw it on the next paragraph.
I thought that happened before the airship stuff. Because I thought, like...
No, we technically haven't gotten to the airship. I just thought the end of the movie is much like watching it. I don't know how to talk about it, because talking about the disparate threads early, when you and I started this episode 9 hours ago, it's easy to talk about because they're so disparate. But now that they're coming together, it's hard to know what to say, because it's like, I mean, frankly, none of it matters.
Yes.
At all.
No. And not in this way that's satisfying. Some of it kind of comes together in a way where you're like, not necessarily in a way that makes sense, but is sort of like, oh, okay, I get that. But the whole Sherry O'Terry plot line kind of, I mean, certainly to move some other stuff along, it certainly does that. But it feels like you've just, like, I feel like I wasted a lot of time with that. Does that mean anything? I don't know.
Yeah.
But then this whole movie is, huh?
All right, so a riot starts to happen in the streets of the Southland, aka Los Angeles. During that, the Taverners have gotten together, the twin Taverners, almost simultaneously, but in the other, cutaway bubble. We find out they're not twins. There's a time jump element.
Well, fluid karma in slowing the Earth, 0.00 whatever.
0.006.
There he is. Caused a rift in the fabric of space-time.
Yes.
And basically the Baron, Wallace Shawn, hired... There's a whole thing where he hired Roland Taverner to drive the Rock.
Well, first he sent monkeys through.
Right, because
because he needed to send. Sorry,
yeah,
it was a funny scene.
and that couldn't work because the monkey's soul couldn't handle that.
Exactly, the monkey's soul. By the way, now in this movie, 9 hours of the movie, now we've introduced the concept of souls, and that twin souls. Fuck this, fuck you, John, fuck me, Alex, because I'm saying it right now. It is the exact same plot of Time Cop. Because in Time Cop, you can't touch your past or future self because you'll explode. Right. Because they can't share the same space.
In this one, they don't know. They're not sure.
Well, what the fuck? Don't they have Time Cop in this alternate future?
No.
Oh.
They specifically, there's a whole plot line that they cut after the Cannes version where Will Ferrell is trying to secret the only known copy of Time Cop to Janine Garofalo, and then they cut that.
It truly is a dystopia.
Yeah. And the thing is that sounds like that could fit that movie, even though I just made it up. Or did I?
I mean,
or are
frankly,
we in the movie?
I don't know at this point.
Or
did the movie plot this?
Yeah, so Roland Taverner is supposed to drive the Rock through the space-time. I don't know why. They kind of explain why they chose him, but not in a way that's satisfying.
Matter, really.
Yeah. And then because of that, the Rock gets sent back 69 minutes in time. A version of the Rock gets sent back 69 minutes in time. And Roland splits. Whereas the Rock, because they have a charred body of the Rock.
Well, the Rock gets sent back 69 minutes in time. The present day Rock gets killed in the car
by Serpentine. She blows him up.
So the Taverners Rock also gets split, but one goes back in time.
Right.
The Taverners get split. Maybe one goes back in time, but just they don't explode.
Yeah.
So there's two of them, while the Rock there's only one of them now.
Yeah.
And we learn that you can't have two souls in different bodies because if they touch, they'll collapse the fourth dimension.
Right.
Yes. As we all know, Neil deGrasse Tyson has a cutaway in this, much like Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice,
and then explains why this doesn't work.
Yeah. So let's get back to the Salon article here because let's catch us up. Boxer meets Simon Theory, played by Kevin Smith. That's right, Silent Bob himself. He learns that the power is correct as a result of the Baron's Utopia project. The world is coming to an end. The Earth's rotation is blah 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 blah. Rift in space time. Blah 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 blah. Oh, just basically what we just said. Yeah. So. He meets Kevin Smith, and Kevin Smith says all the stuff you and I just said to each other.
Right.
I thought there was more in that paragraph.
Nope.
My mistake.
Yeah.
What's unfortunate is a lot of the listeners are not going to be used to these asides because I'm not going to edit a lot of this out while you're good at editing. So they're going to be like, what the fuck is this show? Why is all this?
Why am I listening to
God,
this?
these hosts suck. I like them the weeks that Alex isn't on the editing.
So, yeah, all this stuff is happening, and it's sort of revealed that the Baron is behind all of this for reasons, I think, to take over the world.
Yeah, that's the idea. He's trying to take over the world. Except I don't understand what destroying the world has to do with that, or maybe that's the part that he wasn't in charge of?
I think destroying the world was an unintended consequence.
Okay.
I think he wanted to use fluid karma to do this, and I don't know how splitting the Rock up was... I don't know. Because they try to control all that. There's so much going on, and none of this makes any sense. So that's happening.
Now, Taverner and that guy we met during the dance sequence... steal an ATM.
Yeah, the young homie guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steal an ATM by pulling it out of the wall with a Hummer and a chain. They take a corner, and they're like, oh, we got to save my twin brother. Taverner says this. And he's like, cool, let's get some money. We'll go to Mexico together. They pull this ATM out of the wall. Drive away. Turn the corner. The ATM slides through the corner right into the path of the ice cream truck.
Yes.
Everything's coming together. Oh my God! It's like Memento or some
Magnolia.
other thing. Magnolia, that's what I was thinking of. And yeah, so it flips
I'm
over.
Equally as tired.
And then Christopher Lambert is like, Ramirez's cut did not cut you deep enough. And then he wants to get the one, and it's like, I am immortal. I have inside me blood of kings. And then the guard from Shawshank, it's like, I'm gonna rape your wife, Highlander.
Did you just stop watching the movie at this point?
Oh yeah, I started to watch Highlander. Yeah. Oh, I thought I said that. Sorry.
No.
So that gets the Taverner brothers together,
right? Because there's a riot going on, or the neo-Marxists are starting a riot, and there was there's been fires happening, I guess. There's all these
I don't think
little
that matters.
Yeah, you'll get these little news things. Well, I think it's supposed to set up the end of days kind of thing.
Oh yeah, it does matter. I forgot. I just glossed over the end of the world.
Because it's presented with you this dump information. Also, here's these fires. Okay, but really you're trying to figure out 8 different threads that are going on, and they're like, well, also there's fire and devastation, and there's a riot, I guess, going to happen, even though there's nothing to indicate that that's been brewing. but you're trying to worry about this puzzle over here. Don't worry about this puzzle.
On this point, let me because I just had a great idea for the future of the show. Mm-hmm. We need to get far more popular, have a shitload of listeners so we can get some like kind of pull in Hollywood. No. Oh. Hear me out. Because at this point, we would get Richard Kelly in, and then we would just put our heads on the table and cry, and he would pet us and explain all the things. Like, you just pat our heads and be like, oh, it was a really good try. No, this is what happened. This is what I meant. And just make us feel better. And then we'd feel better, pop back up, and be like, all right, 2-hour episode. We're re-energized because Richard Kelly just patted us on the head and explained what happened. Yeah.
If you want someone to pat you on the head, I can get you that for free.
No, it has to be the maker of a movie that, like, we're not that dumb, the both of us. And this...
Together, I think we can be.
Yeah, possibly. But this movie's hard. It makes my brain hurt.
It reminds me of the time when I read V for Vendetta, and I was very excited about that book, and I wanted to learn all about it and the references in there and stuff like that. And so I started to try to read Thomas Pynchon's V, and got about 20 pages in and just went, no, thank you. I am far too dumb for this book.
Yes.
I feel like there's all these asides and stuff in this movie that.
Well, there's this whole I have it open and we don't have time to get to it, but. Apparently, a lot of this movie is aping Kiss Me Deadly, a film from 1955. Yeah. Which, by the way, in 1955, made more money without inflation than this movie did. But apparently, a lot of this apes that. And the entire movie is a retelling of the Book of Revelation. Again, not enough time.
But I will say, speaking of time, this movie was exactly of its time. In that, when this thing came out, there's also this... as I mentioned, those prequel comics.
Yeah.
And I feel like at this time, like with Lost and stuff like that, there was a lot more, oh, would you like this entire story? I'm telling it over different mediums and go to this website and read this, that I feel like isn't around as much anymore. But as soon as I found out that there were prequel comics to this that came out sort of not too far afterwards, I immediately thought of Lost and me going to all the different sort of ARG websites and all that stuff.
That's what this was supposed to be. It was going to be comics. There's going to be a lot more than 3. There's going to be like a whole sequence of comics, an interactive website, like videos on the internet, and then the movie in this giant sprawling thing. And they didn't get the money, and everything became a clusterfuck, and it became 3, like that giant sprawling comic book series became 3.
Yeah.
Then this movie, I don't think the website ever went live, and none of the other videos happened. So yeah, a lot of the kind of epic sprawling kind of thing that Lost and other shows, which successfully for the time, it was fun to get caught up in.
Yeah.
This did not manage that.
But it's, again, a thing where, and this is an argument I had about other things that have done this, famously, I can't think of the name of the movie, but there was a really crappy horror movie that the ending is like, do you want to see the ending? Go to the website.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wish I could remember the name of it.
Oh, wow, that's frustrating.
Listeners, if I can remember it, if I look it up and find it, or if you know what it is, let us know. But if not, I'll try to find it out and post it on the Facebook page. There's stuff like all the Lost stuff was all just sort of like fun additional stuff. Like, oh, what's the Dharma Initiative? Here's this fake candy bar website. Like, let's just kind of add to the obfuscating the mystery.
No, you figured it out though.
What's that?
Dharma Initiative, Fluid Karma.
Yeah, see.
The island is like a bottle with a stopper that's keeping in the fluid karma.
How about this? If I use fancy sounding terms from other religions, it'll cover up how dumb this is.
Yeah, you're such a bodhisattva to say that. Yep. How about you get some samsara first?
Legend of Bagger Vance.
What?
I don't know. That's the only... Because isn't that that's based on the Bodhisattva or whatever. The Will Smith golf movie.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, anyway.
Shockingly, I have not seen The Legend of Bagger Vance.
Your loss.
No, we already talked about Lost. It just happened.
But the point is that when you try to do that spread out your main text, I think, over all those elements, it's too muddied. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't want to have to have read the comic to understand what you're talking about in the movie. When, like, if you can give me a deeper understanding of it, fine. But I don't think this movie does that.
No, I got you. Yeah, this is like a fucking Silmarillion level of side shit. All right. Let's get to the end here. Fortunio, a.k.a. Will Sasso, kills all the people at US Ident because...
Mm-hmm. Him and the Mohawk guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because that's part of I guess the Baron's plan, because he's been in the Baron's employ this whole time.
So the Baron
in a
is
twist
a
that you're
neo-Marxist.
supposed to care about. No, the Baron's his own thing.
But the neo-Marxists were trying to oust the U.S. ident anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's almost, and I'm sure there's a critique out there somewhere like this, where it's like, well, you have here's the overpowering government, the evangelical state.
Yeah.
Here's the neo-Marxists that want to crush God and abolish capitalism, but then here saving the day, seemingly saving the day, although equally as chaotic and terrible, is almost Silicon Valley libertarianism.
Okay.
Where you have this, like, I'm a corporation and I'm going to save the world through my technology, and I don't need the government or you weird socialism.
Got
guys.
it.
Like, I am the Ubermensch of capital.
Yeah, I mean, they did have...
I mean, that's a super
No,
loose
because
read,
they did
but...
actually have a little thing of him on the cover of Wired or something like that did
Yeah.
try to set him up in that way. Okay.
Which again, for being sort of ahead of its time, you know, the rise of the Silicon Valley. Like, imagine he's kind of a goofball Elon Musk to a degree, that he's got this thing that's going to save the world.
Yeah. U.S. ident's dead. Mm-hmm. That's Dillinger. Now inside is a scene that in every way I should hate, but for some reason found it charming. That weird dance number thing.
Oh, I did hate it in every way.
I should have, but it's The Rock. What's his name?
Boxer Santeros.
No, but what's his name at this point? Because now he's basically become the character.
He's basically Jericho Kane.
So he's Jericho Kane.
Which did we? I don't remember. Did we talk about how that's the name of an Arnold Schwarzenegger character from End of Days?
No, we didn't. But thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, because it's also in a review I read. This isn't my idea, but they mentioned that it's like that's kind of the most self-serious and stupid role that he's ever played.
Yeah,
and so it's very fitting that it's.
Oh no, it totally is, and especially in Jericho Kane, it's such an over-the-top, like the Bible serious kind of like, you know, I'm quoting scripture kind of names like this. Yeah,
but the dance number, so it's Krista Now and her cadre of ex-porn stars.
Yeah,
like just doing this weird interpretive dance after, and I kind of like this bit just because I like Rebecca Del Rio.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Singing the national anthem, this weird remix of the national anthem.
Oh, and the whole national anthem.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
And her voice is fantastic. Like, she's famously sings Roy Orbison's Crying in Mulholland Drive. And just just a powerful scene. And her voice is amazing in that. And so I because I recognized her, I was like, oh, I like her, so I'm more on board with this.
Yeah.
But that was, again, this moment of like, I get it, movie. Go.
Yeah, but just really, you're making me sit. Making me through another song, like a full song.
Yeah.
But also the goddamn national anthem. I've sat through this. I don't. This isn't a sports event.
Well, I can't
change the channel right now.
You're gilding the lily here. Like, I understand. You've made your point. We're getting into the last 20 minutes of this movie. You're not like laying it all out. We're like, oh, do you get it now? It's America and this whole thing, and it's just like, I don't care. It feels like you're spinning your wheels here. Like, move on.
Yes. So they're dancing. Mm-hmm. And then, so Boxer, a.k.a. Jericho Kane, gets up and starts dancing with her, and almost like he's possessed to join in.
Yeah.
And then Mandy Moore, his wife, Frost's daughter, gets up, and they get into a kind of three-way kind of thing.
Yeah, because she knows what's going on. She has an idea. Like, they've had a whole discussion, and she's read the script, or at least knows about the script, and knows that the world is going to end. And has
so she thinks the world's about to end. They dance, and then Jericho Kane, Boxer Centauros, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson pulls a gun out and threatens to kill himself unless everybody evacuates the Mega Zeppelin. Mm-hmm. Why do people keep threatening to kill themselves instead of threatening to kill other people, a.k.a. the effective way guns work?
Yeah.
Like that lady that wanted to blow him also threatened to kill herself.
Yeah.
What's happened? Oh, maybe because they believe in souls in this universe, so that would damn your soul?
Right, yeah. They don't want to.
cares?
Yeah, they don't want to hurt anyone else, but they want it to get done. They don't. I don't know. Yeah.
Because that was weird.
Yeah, and then the movie delivers the immortal line. Or no, because
we're not there. No,
this
we
was
haven't gotten to the
before.
line yet.
No,
Yeah.
this is the line has happened, because this is when the Rock is introduced.
Yeah, we haven't had the call back to the line.
Yeah, when the Rock is introduced to his blown up other half.
Yeah,
he was convinced, like, he was very confused because it seemed like he killed himself, and he's like, I'm a pimp, and pimps don't commit suicide.
Yes.
Which, like, very uncharacteristic of the rest of the movie. So it seems like maybe like that was the Boxer Santeros before kind of shining through.
Yeah.
Because that's not the character we've seen this entire time. But that gets brought up again, where he has the gun to his head, and then Pilot Abilene in voiceover says, but Jericho Kane was going to kill himself because pimps don't commit suicide.
Yeah. So I'm going to read the end of the Salon article as they describe the end of this movie. So outside, the ice cream truck is levitating. The two taverners are touching their hands together, which is making it levitate because they're now crushing the fourth dimension, which, of course, when the fourth dimension gets crushed, you levitate. On top of that truck is the hip-hop guy, and he's got the rocket launcher, and he blows up the Zeppelin with all the people on it.
Just unquestioningly.
Just before it hits. And please, John, please. I wasn't saying that to you, but I didn't know how to finish it. I thought it'd be funny to tell you to stop interrupting me for no reason. Just before it hits, Boxer extends his arms, and his tattoo of Jesus begins to bleed in the nape of his neck. The Mega Zeppelin explodes, and his pieces scatter across L.A. Now, there's a whole other paragraph, but I could not stop laughing when he extends his arm and a bloody face of Jesus. So, but the thing is, because I made that reference before, that in the script, he's going to tattoo words of all the various religions, and then the one that wins out is the one that bleeds or whatever. Fucking hilarious when the face of Jesus starts bleeding. I couldn't stop laughing. But also, he's got the Brahma bull from back when he was like a wrestler or football guy.
Yeah.
And it would have been so great if the bull had bled through. And it turns out those assholes from the Old Testament that were worshiping the bull while that dude was on the mountain. Turns out that was the right God the whole time.
That would be pretty great.
This whole movie's an allegory towards, the golden calf was the right one to worship. Like all these years, 4,000 years of us fucking up, but the Brahma bull, the rock, got it done.
Right, or like one starts bleeding and the other one starts like milk comes out of it for some reason or something. Like, well, what
and
does
then
that
around
mean?
the corner,
yeah, and it turns out he was just shitting himself this entire movie. But so while the thing is levitating, we talk about how the taverners have gotten together and are holding hands, and there's this moment there where you have discovered that Taverners is the one that injured Pilot Abilene and has torn him up inside.
Yeah.
And he's having this whole conversation with himself because one of himself got shot in the eye but is living. And it's like, well, you got to let me go. No, we can get through this. And so there's this beyond the sort of the two souls merging. There's a sort of philosophical like coming to terms with yourself and all that I actually kind of enjoyed. And if this was the only movie, I wouldn't have hated that. And I thought Sean William Scott was actually kind of decent in this. For just a guy that's usually just a grinning dope.
No, he did a good job. Yeah,
he was surprisingly decent. I haven't seen him in much, and so it was nice to see another side of that. And so I did like that whole moment, although because there was so much going on, and it was just and this too. It rung a little hollow.
To continue the Salon article, inside the levitating ice cream truck, the two taverners continue to hold hands. One taverner repeats "friendly fire," while the other says "I forgive you." On the soundtrack, Pilot Abilene says, Revelation 21, and God wiped away the tears from his eyes so the new Messiah could see into the new Jerusalem. His name was Officer Roland Taverner from Hermosa Beach, California. He is a pimp, and pimps don't commit suicide. Taverner's eyes fade to gray. The next question of the Slot article. Is it just me, or did that make no sense?
Yeah.
And no, it is not just you.
No.
Because here's the thing. I often think I'm the wrong one in pretty much all situations, that I've missed it. There's something deeper going on, that it is incumbent on the watcher, not the producer of the visions, to understand things. And I really like Salon, because Salon is a very smart magazine stroke website. And they made me feel better about, a lot of this actually just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank Salon.
Well, back in this was because this is vintage Salon from like the mid 2000s, because they did one of Mulholland Drive as well.
Yeah,
they were doing this whole layout of the whole thing, and it's like, what's the blue box? Well, we don't know. They just straight up said, okay, we don't know. But yeah, it is true because, and I think that's, I don't want to say charm of this movie, but the movie gives you, for as much of a fever dream mess that the whole thing is, it gives you an idea that no, there's something here though. Like there are coherent thoughts in here.
Oh yeah,
and it's because it's such a jumbled mess that almost highlights it. This is the way that one of the things I like about David Lynch is I always walk away from a David Lynch movie going, I don't get it, but I feel like all the pieces were there. This one I didn't feel like all the pieces were there, but I still felt like, well, there's something there, and I just want to puzzle on it for a while. As little as that's going to do for me, and I'm not going to have some revelation about myself or the world around me, frankly, out of this, but it's more just I want to piece this out. I want to figure out how this all works or why it's trying to do this.
Yeah, it was an interesting experiment. I like, as terrible as it is, and it is terrible, but it's kind of good. Like, I don't understand myself anymore after watching this movie.
Yeah, it's I don't recommend it, but I'll probably watch it again at some point.
I wish that the director's cut would come out, because I want to watch it again. Oh. Like, I want to watch the director's cut to see what the other stuff is, because it's certainly interesting.
I'm more just like we talked about earlier. I want to see this. I want to see a remake of this, or basically just this same movie re-edited in a way that like the way that people will take here's Memento, but played in the actual order it happens. Back to front. Like, make this a more manageable basic movie. Like, just split it up or do whatever to it that you could somehow make this a more into just like little bite-sized pieces or something. So, like, try to make this as coherent as you can.
See, I almost feel like that would make it suck.
It absolutely would. It absolutely would, because that's part of the charm of it. Yeah. Again, like, without wanting to use the word charm, but just like what a mess it is. But there's a part of me that I'm like, I wonder if there's a way that to make this just a more straightforward thing. Just to be basically just so I can, like, okay, I do understand the plot after all.
Yeah.
Not that it would make the movie any better, but it would just like, oh, that's why Sherry O'Terry is wearing off-road rollerblades. There's not an explanation for that, but it's
There's so much of the. Yeah, I mean, we've been going for too long. We can't, but there's so much we missed, and so much we.
And everyone listening is no better off. Everyone has no more idea than we do, and we've seen the damn thing.
Well, that's what I loved about that Salon article. I'll try to remember to put a link to it when I put the post up. That's what everybody comes out of. It's like, you read the plot synopsis, like, did that help? No. Yeah. Like, there's no more about you. You could know everything about the movie, and you're still not really gonna get it, which is. It's kind of, I don't know if we've said this yet. It's kind of charming. Mm-hmm. Have we used that word yet?
Yeah.
Charm? Is that? We have. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Badly, but yes.
Okay. All right. Good.
Well, in the same way that, again, without just constantly making these references, some of these movies, like something like Mother or like David Lynch stuff, is so much less about the plot and like about the exploration of an idea. And I think this movie does that. I think it tries to explore these ideas. But there's so many of them that it's hard. So you're kind of bewildered, and and maybe it's just me and the way that I watch movies, or the way that I want to pick apart this mystery box, is that I'm trying to make sense of the plot so much that I'm losing some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas you kind of sit back afterwards and you just sort of accept it as it is, then you can kind of start piecing out stuff from it, which is kind of when I watch it again, where now the expectation of this is all going to make sense eventually is gone. I might be able to get more out of it.
Yeah, you were like that with Big Money Hustlers as well. True. I remember it clearly.
That's true.
Well, any last thoughts other than that?
Pimps don't commit suicide.
Well, I'm going to say pimps actually do commit suicide.
Yeah, I like, Rock, do you have the statistics on that? Because that seems...
Because frankly, I mean, that's a high-stress job.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, you're doing some horrific things to other human beings.
Drug abuse.
I'm pretty sure a lot of pimps probably commit suicide.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Southland Tales.
Yeah.
Which very much was a story all about how his life got turned upside down. And I want to take a minute and just sit right there. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do next episode, John.
Well, as you can probably guess, our brains have been thoroughly turned to mush by this movie. So we thought it'd be a perfect time to revisit our old friend David Ayer, director of Suicide Squad, and his new Netflix movie, Bright, starring Will Smith as a cop that is also with an orc, and they're elves and stuff.
Well, I just want to tell you my emotional journey with this film, wherein we agreed to watch it a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that it was David Ayer until you just said that right now.
Yeah.
And I really regret choosing this movie.
Yep.
And boy, this is going to suck.
It's going to suck. And it's written by the exorable Max Landis. So this is going to be so rad.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And it's Will Smith. He's going to be Will Smith about it. It's going to be great.
Well, Will Smith is charming as fuck. So like,
no, he is.
That's at least there'll be something to look at that's like not horrible.
There's different levels of charming with Will Smith, and there's a certain thing, we talked about it a little bit in Suicide Squad, where is he at this point yet where it's like, you're still doing that? Like hearing your dad say like rad, kids still say rad, right?
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, you're really old. You should not be saying swag.
So we're going to watch Bright, available on Netflix, and Netflix only, as far as I know.
Yeah, it's a Netflix exclusive.
Yeah, so if you don't have Netflix, pay for it. If you don't pay for it, borrow somebody else's, because who the fuck cares?
This is going to be worth watching, I'm sure.
I think so. I think it's going to be probably the greatest movie ever made about orcs and detectives living together.
I'll say this, after Southland Tales, the future looks bright.
Okay, bye.